की जय,
जय
मथुरा धाम की जय,
जय
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय,
जय
गंगा माई की जय,
जय
यमुना माई की जय,
जय
तुलसी देवी की जय,
जय
भक्ति देवी की जय,
जय
हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय,
जय
समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय,
जय
निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि
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 हरि।
बोल।
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
हरे
Krishna.
कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
हरे
Krishna.
कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
हरे
Krishna.
कृष्णा
All glories to the Lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Lord Srila Prabhupada. No, Vishnu Puraya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namne. Namaste Krishna Vidaya Prabhupada Stapani Sri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti Narayana Namaskritya Narom Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Ujirayat Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttamastuke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we continue Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, which is entitled The Status Quo. Chapter 1, which is entitled Questions by Vidura, in text 41 today. Samyanushochetam adhapatantam Rate paritaya vidudruhiyam Niryapito yena suhrit swapurya Aham swaputran samanuvratinam Samyanu shochetam adapatantam Bratre paritaya vidudruhiyam Niryapito yena suhit swapurya Aham swaputran samanuvratinam Samyanushoche tam adhapatantam Brate paritaya vidudruhe ya Niryapito yena suhit swapuryam Aham swaputran samanuvratinam Hare Krishna. Anyone want to chant?
सौम्यानुशौचेतम् अधः पतन्तम् भ्रात्रे प्रते परेत्या विदुद्रुहेया निर्यापितो येन सुहृत्स्वपुर्या अहं स्वपुत्रान् समानुव्रतेन.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right.
सौम्यानुशोचे तमदापतन्तं भ्रात्रे परेताय विदुरुयः निर्यापितो येन सुपुर्या अहं स्वपुत्रान् समनुव्रतेन.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay. So we do word for word now. Samya, O gentle one. Anushoche, I lament. Tam, him. Adhapatantam, gliding down. Ratre, on his brothers. Paretayam, death. Vidudruhi revolted against. Ya, one who, Niryapita, driven out. Ye nam, by whom? Suhrit, well-wisher. Swapurya, from his own house. Aham, myself. Swaputran, with his own sons. Samanuvratena, accepting the same line of action. Translation by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O gentle one, I simply lament for him, Dhritarashtra, who rebelled against his brother after death. By him, I was driven out of my own house, although I am his sincere well-wisher, because he accepted the line of action adopted by his own sons. Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Vidura did not ask about the welfare of his elder brother because there was no chance of his well-being, only news of his gliding down to hell. Vidura was a sincere well-wisher for Dhritarashtra, and he had a thought about him in the corner of his heart. He lamented that Dhritarashtra could rebel against the sons of his dead brother Pandu, and that he could drive him, Vidura, out of his own house on the dictation of his crooked sons. In spite of all these actions, Vidura never became an enemy of Dhritarashtra, but continued to be his well-wisher. And at the last stage of Dhritarashtra's life, it was Vidura only who proved to be his real friend. Such is the behavior of a Vaishnava like Vidura. He desires all good, even for his enemies. Oma Gyanati Mirandasya, Gyana Gyana Shalakaya, Chakshu Amilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Vitapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha. Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vidyavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Paramami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sundibhe Eva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunivari Paschathyadi Shitarini. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gulatishe Namaha. Anandali Lamaya Vigrahaya Himaviri Vichapishindaraya Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. Thanks. So I will do the translation again. O gentle one, I simply lament for him Dhritarashtra, who rebelled against his brother after death. By him, I was driven out of my own house, although I am his sincere well-wisher, because he accepted the line of action adopted by his own sons. So Vidura is speaking and describing Dhritarashtra. He didn't even ask about the welfare, as the Prabhupada says here, of his elder brother Dhritarashtra. There was Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and then Vidura. Pandu was made the king. Pandu died in the forest because he killed Sage Kingdom by mistake, and the sage cursed him that he would also die in pretty much the same way going out, if he gets attracted to his wife. Mm. So Pandu is now gone, and the Pandavas, the sons, have been treated very badly by the envious sons of Dhritarashtra. The Dhritarashtra is an elder brother for Vidura. So there was a family connection there. And not only a family connection, Vidura is just he has that kind of heart. He's a very compassionate person. And Dhritarashtra is holding a position that's very important. He was the king. So if he makes good decisions and makes good judgment, it is to the welfare of all the people that are under his care in the kingdom. So it was important for Vidura to try to pump sense into his head. But because he was envious of a situation that Pandu had become king when he was the older brother to Pandu, he carried that particular dislike in his heart, waiting to come out. And since he was blind, he couldn't really fight the situation. But he said, my son is not blind, so why not him? I should have been given the crown from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And now the situation is, they are bypassing my son. And the sons were also envious. They wanted to be the one next in line. So this whole situation came up where they were very, very cruel towards the Pandavas, who had lost their father and were basically taking shelter of their uncle, Dhritarashtra, at the palace. Yes, he was taking care of them, but that's superficial. But internally, he did not want the Pandavas to be the ones to be the next in line of rulership. So Vidura was the one that was pumping sense into the head of this man, Dhritarashtra. He didn't want to listen. He favored his sons, as he says, he accepted the line of action adopted by his own sons. He says, I simply lament for Dhritarashtra who rebelled against Pandu after Pandu's death. By Dhritarashtra, I was actually driven out of my house, although I am a sincere well-wisher. Vidura is actually incarnation of Jamaraj, so he tells the truth like it is. He's not one to sugarcoat anything, but he comes right to the point and says things like it is. It's always been his way of action. Even in Yamaloka, same thing. He has to point out people's mistakes and what's going to happen due to the mistakes that they've made, whether it's intentional or not. So Vidura's behavior is the one that is very, very commendable in this situation. Vidura was a well-wisher. He's a well-wisher for someone who's actually not listening to him. He's a well-wisher for someone who is treating his own nephews badly. And still, Vidura hung in there and tried to pump sense up to the last minute into Dhritarashtra's head. So, as Srila Prabhupada said, since Vidura was a sincere well-wisher, he had a thought about him a thought about Dhritarashtra in the corner of his heart. Like in America, we say there's a weak spot. We have a weak spot for a person. They do wrong things, but still we are okay with them and prepared to forgive them and that kind of situation. So a place in his heart, and Srila Prabhupada says the corner of his heart. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, we won't comment on that more. So Dhritarashtra lamented, Vidura lamented that Dhritarashtra could rebel against the son of his brother Pandu. He was lamenting that Dhritarashtra would go to that extent of turning against the sons of his dead brother. If you put yourself in the shoes of the Pandavas, they've lost their father, and now their cousins are not treating them right, and their uncle is not treating them right either. And in the meantime, they're living at the palace where these father and sons are, Dhritarashtra and and the Kauravas. And so bad were the situations that there's distinction that was made. Myself, this is Dhritarashtra, and my sons, they are Kauravas. And Pandu and his sons are Pandavas. All of them are Kauravas. That's the fact. All of them are Kauravas. But there was such a disdain in the heart of Dhritarashtra that even he labeled them as these people with their father. These 5 brothers with their father, they're called the Pandavas. And the rest of us are the Kuru dynasty. So in his heart, he was already singling and pushing them out of the whole Kuru family, pushing the Pandavas out of the Kuru family. And when Vidura had said to the point where there was practically nothing more to say to Dhritarashtra to make him see reason, what happened for Vidura's efforts was that he was driven out of his own house. Now, Vidura still kept some sort of affection in his heart for Dhritarashtra. This is a situation where we can learn from, and I'll be the first to say it's easier said than done, because when people turn against you, even the body that doesn't want problems will just simply avoid that person that's acting animically. Avoid that person. And sometimes we're advised to do that. Therefore, there's no quarrels and so between us and that person or those people. Yet, in Vidura, no matter what had happened, he himself was dealt with unfairly also, driven out of his house. But Vidura did not, I mean, you could say if he's driven out of his house, then technically he's homeless. But he took advantage to go on that advantage to go on places of pilgrimage to hear about Krishna. So this is a situation that's bad turned into a situation that's Krishna conscious on the part of Vidura. And still he desired all good even for somebody like Dhritarashtra. We should also learn from this and desire good even for our enemies. And we say, if we bring it up to the level of the heart and say that, oh, this person treated me badly, therefore I don't like that person, and the mind is convinced that way, then it's very difficult to be compassionate to people who are enemies. But if you remember the fight between I'll have to get Bhim and Jarasan. According to etiquette, even though they were fighting and the end was one of them was going to die, they were actually sitting together in the evenings after the fight, and they were breaking bread together. Speaking about etiquette, the next day they would fight, and this continued until Krishna finally showed Bhim how to kill Jarasan. So because the etiquette was there, at least Jarasan followed it as the host and Vidura the guest. I mean, the Bhima the guest in that situation. So, and these were supposed to be enemies. So a Vaishnava especially should not have any enemies. A Vaishnava should be a compassionate person. Compassion is extremely, extremely important in our lives. And when you see so many parts of the Shastra, we are told that this is a very important thing that we have to adopt so that we do not make offenses. Remember, when somebody offends us, that is aparad on their part. If we get upset and go after that person saying negative things or doing negative things to them. That's aparat on our part. And this is the case of two wrongs don't make a right. So what should we do? Well, in many, many instances, the best approach is to tolerate. Sometimes you can avoid, but if you can't avoid, you have to tolerate. So tolerance is very much a part of our lives as devotees. So anyway, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 45, there's a section in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, that one has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities such as happiness and distress. And happiness and distress are in everybody's life. So if we can tolerate the weather does all kinds of things to us. We see when it's severe, we are in a suffering condition. That is the weather. But nobody goes after the demigod that put it there to try to get back at them. What do? We tolerate. Therefore, if that can happen to us and we know, we're not commies, we know that there's a demigod behind this thing that's happening. And that demigod knows what he's doing and knows that the weather that's been turned bad is actually making us suffer. But we don't go after that demigod. So why should we go after other people when they put problems on us? If we've practiced that against the demigods, the weather, to be tolerant, then we should be tolerant in other situations too. So there's cold that comes, there's warmth, that's too warm or too cold. We tolerate all of these. And a person, Srila Prabhupada says, the person that has learned tolerance or practices tolerance becomes free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. Something didn't work out. All right, it's the Lord's mercy. Maybe there's some lessons I'm supposed to learn from it. What are the lessons? Sometimes we ask that and pray for that lesson. The results will come too, because there are no accidents in life. Things happen for a reason. So this transcendental position where somebody becomes free from anxieties regarding gain and loss because they are tolerant, Srila Prabhupada says it's a transcendental position. And it helps someone to get to full Krishna consciousness. Because a person that is that way is really dependent on the goodwill of Krishna. A person that is that way, that's really what is happening. They are depending on the goodwill of Krishna. And they know that Krishna is the supreme controller and the supreme powerful entity. Therefore, if I'm surrendered to him, then what is it that can happen to me without the will of Krishna? Everything in my life goes according to the will of Krishna. Therefore, we should pray every day. I used to say a long prayer when Mataji Mother Gita used just one word to describe what I've been talking about and trying to do also. We should dedicate every day to the Lord. You just use the word dedication. So today, everything that happens, let it be by the will of God. The prayer should be dedication of the day to the Lord. Then things that could cause anxieties, well, we already know we've put every day in front at the lotus feet of the Lord. So then there's no reason to get an anxiety over it. And if anxiety comes, then you use intelligence to override the anxiety and say, no, Krishna is in control. Krishna is in control. And you can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is Mana Shiksha, instructions to the mind. In that way, that anxiety is actually curbed or put down. So tolerance is very important in our lives. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, texts 4 and 5 are together. The section of the purport, Srila Prabhupada just said very simply, Shama, tolerance and forgiveness should be practiced. One should be tolerant and excuse the minor offenses of others. So sometimes devotees do offend each other, but it's not such a big deal. And we shouldn't make a big deal of it. If it's bodily destruction, bodily harm, and so on from an offense, that's one thing. Or offense that makes a lot of devotees very uncomfortable, that's another thing. For example, this person is taking things that belongs to others, stealing. This situation happened in one of the dams when Srila Prabhupada was on this planet, and he was told about it because it happened quite a number of times. When Srila Prabhupada came to visit, he was told about it. There's one devotee here that steals from us. We know, we've talked to him, and devotees were kind of frustrated. So they were trying to tolerate, but of course, the thing is just the offense is being repeated several times. People's things are being taken. So what did Srila Prabhupada do? Well, Srila Prabhupada called him and told him that he was aware and that the devotees were aware of his behavior. And in order to be cooperative, he should stop putting so much anxieties in the mind of the devotees. So he got warned by Srila Prabhupada, although he used very nice words. He warned them. The stealing continued. And so next time Srila Prabhupada came and they told him, then Srila Prabhupada asked that the police be called. So the police came and the situation was explained to the police. And basically the devotee was handed over to the police. And Srila Prabhupada's words to the police were quite interesting and instructive for all of us. He said, this person has been so much of a problem. We've tried to talk to him and he's not stopped. And now it's happened again. Therefore, and he told the police, I am leaving him in your care. That's how he put it. In other words, that's a Vaishnava's way of saying, arrest him. I'm leaving him in your care. So the police took the devotee away. I don't know the rest of the story, what happens. There are many parts in the Bhagavad Gita that talk about having to be tolerant. In chapter 13, qualities that a person should practice, chapter 13, 8 through 12, there's quite a number of qualities. Sri Krishna says that this is knowledge, and anything outside of those is ignorance. It starts with humility, amanitva. There's also tolerance. And Srila Prabhupada says that tolerance means one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. Insult and dishonor from others. Not the easiest thing to do, but everything we practice, we'll get to know when to.
Not the easiest thing.
No. But we should practice bearing insult and dishonor from others. Now, if one is engaged, then it warns us, if we're engaged in the advancement of spiritual knowledge, there will be so many insults and much dishonor from others. It's going to happen. It's going to happen because material nature is like that. It's so constituted. That's the way it is. Some people that don't know any better, if you listen to Prabhupada's lectures, so many times he's using fools and rascals, but that's the reason. That's the reason. It may seem like he's insulting them, but no, that's who they are now in this Kali Yuga. Krishna used it too. And Srila Prabhupada has been asked once, let me digress from this a little bit. Why are you calling people fools and rascals, fools? Srila Prabhupada says, I don't call them fools. Krishna calls them fools, and I just repeat Krishna's words. It is true. It's in the Bhagavad Gita. Fools deride me. They don't know my power over all that be. Fools is, Krishna says fools. So then his pure devotee also repeats word fools, but they are fools and rascals. And they are easily deceived even by demons. And that's going on. So nature, people in material nature, they like that. And then Srila Prabhupada gave an example of Prahlad. He was only 5 years old, and the only fault of his was he was a devotee. He was engaged in the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, and then he went to the extent of spreading it too among his classmates. And that was an endangerment to his father. His father became very antagonistic, very much against his devotion, and tried to kill him in so many ways. What did Prahlad do? Fight back? No. Prahlad just simply tolerated him. And Krishna came to the rescue. So there may be many, many impediments to making advancement in spiritual knowledge, but we should be tolerant and continue Krishna consciousness with determination. That's very important. And speaking about that, there's a story of one Mataji who was distributing books, Srila Prabhupada disciple. They were going at that time to the airport to distribute books. This Mataji stopped one man, and like the same way they prepare and to introduce Srila Prabhupada's books. She did that. This man got very upset that he deliberately knocked down the books, not just the one book that was being given to him, or the devotee Mataji was trying to give to him, but he just basically knocked all of the books from her shoulder, book bag and everything, down to the floor of the airport. And there are people just walking by, and they all saw it happen. What did she do? She didn't say anything to him. She picked up all the books and then moved on to the next person. So this is a person that's very much in control of her emotions. She did not fight that guy. It's his wrongdoing and his bad luck, because he would have been put in the situation of going back to Godhead, at least beginning the journey of going back to Godhead, just from Srila Prabhupada's books. And he's going to reject them, probably go read some mundane book somewhere else. So tolerance is one of the qualities of a Brahmana. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 42, the qualities of Brahmanas are listed. Samodhamas tapasvacham shanti advajam adavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikam brahma karma swabhavacham. Samo, peacefulness; dhamma, self-control; tapa, austerity; socham, purity. Then the next line, shantir, that's tolerance; adavam, honesty; and jnanam, knowledge; vijnanam, applied knowledge or wisdom; astikyam, religiousness. We are in the Sanatan Dharma, eternal religion. So those are the qualities that Brahmanas work under. So we have to try as much as possible to live that way. And with these other qualities, if we practice them, then it becomes possible to be tolerant. Also, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, text 27, also about qualities that has to be developed by a devotee in order to grow and become pure. Now, in order for us to stay the course of Krishna consciousness, we have to conquer lust, we have to conquer anger, and then unlawful desires, avarice, and bewilderment. We'll start with bewilderment. We have to know where we are. We shouldn't be bewildered by things that happen because we're in jail. We shouldn't expect wonderful things in jail. A little bit of stuff that is nice happens, fine. Our own program should be to try as much as possible to stay the course to get away from jail. But we shouldn't be surprised at the things that happen here. No bewilderment. Desires that are unlawful, especially the four regulative principles. We should try very much to stay away from those. And if we're having problems, we should seek counseling in order to find other ways to deal with that. Because it gives us, when we obey the regulative principles, gives us peace of mind. Peace of mind in several categories. No meat eating, no fish, no eggs. That's better nutrition for the body. No gambling. That's a better financial position because gambling will take our money away. No intoxication. That's better health for our bodies or internal organs, especially the liver. Like that. No illicit sex. Well, get away from sexually transmitted diseases. You never have to worry about those ever. And when there's better control, then that way we don't get attached to the lust on this particular planet. So to get free from anger, one should learn how to forgive. The more we are willing to forgive, the less angry we get. In fact, it gets to a point where even somebody offends us, but because we have learned to forgive, we won't even bring it up, especially the minor things. Minor things means it's not going to change my life so much. Why should I bother? To be free from unlawful desires. Srila Prabhupada says one should not make very, very, very rigid plans. I want this, I want this, I want this. When we make plans, it should be plans to serve Krishna and serve the devotees. But for our own selves, we live simply. So, we have to wake up early in the morning. It's part of our austerity, but it's also the best time of the day. We dedicate that to the Lord. So that is our spiritual culture. And by the spiritual culture, trying to live under that, we will be able to conquer sleep. If a person doesn't really want to do anything spiritual for Krishna and doesn't have a job to go to in the morning, why would they get up? They don't. But it's interesting, I see the Prabhupada made a comment about devotees getting up early in the morning, the Brahma Muhurta hour, to dedicate that time to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what's happening on the highways. Many, many, many people are also up that time, 5:30, going to work, serving Maya. And devotees are using the time to serve Krishna. So by tolerance, one can conquer desires and avarice too. Disturbances from various disease can be avoided by regulated diets. A person that knows their body well and also eats Krishna Prasadam moderately can actually save themselves from sickness that would have been a lot worse had they not been on a regulated diet. Self-control. When somebody is self-controlled mentally, they can be free from all kinds of false hopes. Whatever is going to happen in a person's life is going to happen. That is designed that way before even a person starts the lifetime. So Srila Prabhupada has explained that look at how trouble comes. Sometimes it's uninvited and it comes anyway. Case in point, sometimes a person is sitting in his car at a red light waiting for the light to turn green. And somebody from somewhere else comes and rams their vehicle into theirs. It had nothing to do with the person that's waiting legally for the light to change. But again, the day is changed immediately when there's an accident. And if there's injury, then they have to deal with, now all of a sudden I'm going somewhere, but I'm going to wind up in the hospital. And if not, then there's so many things that has to happen. Time just gets immediately changed. The plans are changed totally. Because you're thinking of getting from one place or from the house to a certain place, and now there's an accident and the entire thing is changed. You can't get there at that time. The whole plans have changed. So it happens unprovoked by us. And if that can happen, distress, and this world is for happiness, distress at the material level, then if distress can happen, and Srila Prabhupada also says the happiness can also happen. So we don't make grand plans and say, oh, it's going to be this way, it's going to be this way. Yeah, we can make some temporary plans that are not like etched in stone, that I want it this way, because then if it's not working, then we go through so much anxiety because of it. Mm. So self-control, one can be free from false hopes. Mm. And if we want to save money, I know we can actually be, Mr. Papa even talks about that, saving money. When we avoid undesirable association, the chances are very high that we can actually save some money. Undesirable association will open us up to doing things that we shouldn't be doing, and spending money doing those things. Mm. Money has to be used responsibly. Undesirable association will, in fact, cause us being with people who are, don't live by the etiquette, the spiritual etiquette. Then they'll just be spending money on sense gratification. We waste money that way, and we don't grow spiritually. Mm. In Bhakti Yoga, we can control hunger and worldliness, being so attached to worldly things. Papa says we can avoid that by the knowledge of spirituality, especially understanding that nothing is permanent. Mm-hmm. Nothing is permanent. So that way, then, if it's not permanent and I don't have it, what's the big deal? So worldliness can be avoided that way. What about those who are talkative? Well, the devotee is supposed to be silent. It's one of the qualities. So talkativeness can be avoided by being grave, gravity and silence. Gravity and silence. Run things through the mind and also pray and have good wishes in the mind the whole time. And when you talk about things that are positive. Then that way, the gravity and silence will curb talkativeness. Talkativeness here means gossip, especially gossip. So that can be avoided by gravity and silence. And be confident in the Supreme Personality of Godhead's protection. We can avoid fearfulness. So I'll go over it again. If somebody was making a salvation, we have to conquer principles of lust, anger, unlawful desires, and avarice and bewilderment. Then we start. From anger, be free, we have to learn how to forgive. So if we forgive, we'll be less angry. The tendency to forgive does that. To be free from unlawful desires, we shouldn't make rigid plans. No rigid plans. Things can change at any time. When our spiritual culture we follow, then we'll get up early. And that way we'll be able to conquer sleep. So spiritual culture helps us to conquer sleep. Tolerance. One can conquer desires and things that we don't want. And, tolerance, we just can conquer desires that way. Regulated diet helps us from contracting various diseases. Prabhupada goes into detail, actually. Sometimes, even the quantity of the amount of food that we eat, if we eat too much, what can happen? I forgot exactly what he mentioned for, but he was talking about some diseases that can be contracted by overeating. And self-control, we can be free from false hopes. Get away from undesirable association, and you find that you actually can save more money that way than spend on undesirable things. And our practice, we can control hunger because there are times that we're supposed to fast. And that way, if we're used to fasting, then hunger is not such, it will come, but we can control it also. So things don't last forever. Impermanence is what's in this world. Therefore, worldliness, being attached to worldly things, can be avoided by the culture of knowledge of impermanence. And then gossip can be avoided by being grave and silent. Believing in the Lord's prowess, we can avoid fearfulness. So those are some points given by Srila Prabhupada. Now, we want to end with one prayer by the Lord, Lord Chaitanya. Trinadapi Sunitena Terarapi Sahistana Amani Namanadena Ketaniya Sada Hari. So to chant the holy name of the Lord, we have to be in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. We should be more tolerant. Here comes tolerance again. Tolerant in the tree and devoid of all sense of false prestige. But we should be ready to offer all respects to others. Not only older people, all respects to others. That is, you treat everybody nicely. And that state of mind helps one to chant the holy name of the Lord easily and constantly. Tinadapi Sunichena Tara Vasahistana Amanina
Manadena
Ketaniya Sadahari. Lord Chaitanya himself, who came, God himself, in the mood of Srimati Radharani to show us how to be a devotee, said that. So you can't go wrong with Trinadapi Sunichena. We should be humbler than the straw in the street and more tolerant than a tree. We should be ready to help others. When somebody has a problem, especially a devotee, we should make that problem our problem in terms of, okay, I have a problem, how to solve it. Even though when we solve it, we help the devotee, the other devotee. We try to find ways to do that. And that person would be very appreciative of what we've done and feel that there is also good, as they call in America, good vibes or good feelings about the society as a whole, because it's an ISKCON devotee that helped me. And that way, they will not feel like getting out of the society because they are good people and then they want to keep associating with them. So Vidura, even though he was treated badly by Dhritarashtra, he still had a soft spot for him at somewhere. We see the Prabhupada's way in the corner of his heart, a soft spot for his brother. And finally, actually, when all the sons of Dhritarashtra died after the war, still, Vidura, that had been kicked out of his house, returned to come pump some sense into Dhritarashtra's head when all his plans had fallen through and there was no Duryodhana to give the crown to. Not even one of his 100 sons were there, so now there was nobody to give the crown to, and therefore the plans were not, it wasn't necessary. It didn't make any sense to continue with it. Even Shakuni, who was trying to do all kinds of false, kapach, to all kinds of things, still he was also dead. And Karna, who didn't like the Pandavas, even though he was told he was one of them, he was also dead. So nobody was around. Nobody was around. So his brother finally came and talked sense into his head. That is compassion. And that is tolerance on Vidura's part. So when we practice that, the chances are very high that we will find ourselves facing less controversy and being happy and more peaceful in our lives. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Wonderful points, Prabhu.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy.
But those points are all are very, very good. But taking it and putting it in use. So how much we can do is the first question for me.
It takes practice.
Practice, yeah.
It takes practice. I use a mundane example that says, if you hear about the Olympics and somebody has won a gold medal, they have worked very hard for years to get to that point where they could beat everybody like that. Years of practice.
Okay.
And for us, the good thing about us is, or about our situation is, We practice. So we make the effort to acquire those qualities. And the effort is not just to make us a better person, but we also earn the mercy of Krishna when we do that.
Oh, that's good.
The effort and the mercy is the greatest mercy Krishna will give us is come back home. Come back home. He's the final decision maker about this. So when we try to be better by putting in the effort, then the mercy will also come.
So no matter whether I can get all the things or not, but I just put effort. That's
you put effort in there. Believe me, you put effort, and every devotee that's been in devotional service for a while, if you put in an effort to go the right direction, you find out that you become a better person. And you can look back and say, oh, 5, 6 years ago, I used to have this problem. I don't have it anymore. Practice does in fact change a person. It does. It does. And I can look back at Gita and argue because we were there 20 years, and the devotees that were there at the time, we fought each other, all kinds of negative things. We were just starters. We didn't know much. Now, everybody that we talk to is so sober. It's interesting how many people have changed. They become sober. People that used to yell at each other, now they talk to each other very nicely and quietly. And it's like they can request things, and if you get it, fine. If they don't get it, they don't fuss. But those times when we're new, why is it? Why is it? After each other like that. And the spiritual master was one that was calming everybody down. So, but now people know it. Because after practice and after a few incidents, you learn from it, you realize, no, it doesn't work. And then you go to the Shastra, and the Shastra says, Trinada Peace now. How are you doing yours?
Yeah.
Like that. So it takes practice. Just because you haven't been pure devotee overnight, says people think they're going to be pure devotees overnight. No, it doesn't work that way. But, and then he gives the example of pregnancy. So a young wife now has gotten pregnant, and then he tells her, but where's the child? I want the child now. No, it's a good 9 months wait. And all kinds of transformations and things that you have to deal with. This body's changes before finally you get to that point of having the child. So yeah, everything takes time. But it's just working on it, though. Working on it. That makes us improve.
Thank you very much for all the suggestions, Prabhu. I will try.
Yeah. Tolerance is not easy, but it can be done. It can be done. Especially if you become grave and more silent rather than just lash out and do something which comes out of, more the passion. You decide to hold off. Even I had a situation with my daughter. My daughter, I could talk about it. It's a very simple thing. I make decaffeinated green tea when I put ginger in there for my health. There are 2 little pans here. Now, she uses it to make tea in the morning, and she uses it for her mother, my wife, in the morning. So the 2 pans are always, when I get ready, they're used. I can't make my tea because those 2 are the ones in the house. Therefore, yesterday I just bought a small pan that was on sale. Same thing like one of those that's there. I bought it. Then I told her when I came to the house, I bought it. Well, she started. But why you spend money like that? Then I have to go to, I could just finish and go to work. I mean, and the pan will be there. You waste money. So I said, all right, we'll see. I didn't jump at it. I said, we'll see. I'll keep the receipt. I have 30 days to return the pan. So I'll keep the receipt. This morning, this morning, she takes both pans and she makes tea. When I need tea, it's not there. I said, can I use the cup? Oh, no. She tried, but she hadn't finished making the tea. I needed the tea. This morning, for the times that I normally take the tea. So I said, all right, then in that case, I'm going to use the pan that I bought yesterday. End of case. I told her, finish. So I made my tea, and here's my tea. It's that cup. But I didn't fight her. It could have been a long as I'm a father and I exert my right to no. We'll see. If you don't think it's necessary, the next day, it was I was proven right that the pans were used up. So I just tolerated last night, didn't fight her. And the next morning, it turned out that I needed to use the new pan, so I used it. That's the end of that. So these things, it's a mundane example, but it's kind of funny sometimes.
But one thing, Prabhu, when a person gets angry, the other person's just quiet. That makes more angry.
When somebody says something, see, it does not mean you have to be quiet, but you have to say something that, see, what I said from this practice, I said, we'll see. You said, we'll see. Okay, we'll see. If the pan is actually free, I will return this new one. According to what you're saying, we'll just see. Let's leave it to the circumstance. And it turned out that the pans that were there were not free this morning, so I had to use.
But I faced a lot of times, the other person is quiet. My husband used to be quiet and looking at me like that, staring at me when I'm angry.
Disturbed though, but you know they are disturbed.
When I'm angry, he was looking at me, staring at me just like that. That makes more angry. Because you have to be,
well, first of all, you have to try to control anger and make the case with intelligent, mild, questions. Another situation also, but it takes practice. The thermostat that gives the heat in the temple, heat and cold in the temple. People, so it was cold and people are adjusting, and there's one person that knows what to do, and I was one of those that knew what to do with the thermostat. But another person came in and then adjusted. No, you can do this. You could do this. Now I knew he was wrong, but rather than tell him it was wrong, I said, "That's what you think." That was my way of responding. That's what you think, and it's true. That's what he thinks. But I didn't tell him that it's wrong. I just said that's what you think. But the way then I showed you do this, you do this, you do this. And this is how we've said it the whole time, and I left it alone. It takes a while. I used to be angry too, but it takes a while because the first thing is you don't want to make a bad situation worse. It could be your mind with intelligence tells you immediately it could be worse. So then you just start saying, okay, it's this way, it's that way. People who are calm, they weren't calm overnight. They weren't born calm. They practiced. They practiced and practiced.
Lot of practice. Not only practice, a lot of practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an everyday thing. Then little by little, you just get to know. So that way, and then that way, there's peace of mind. We never fight anybody. You can say, okay, we'll see.
Every morning it will happen from every family.
Yeah,
it has different attitude people in one house.
Yeah, every family is like that.
That's true. Every family, and our own children. You have 5 children. 5 have different mentalities.
Yeah.
And then husband and wife, they come from somewhere. They have different mentalities.
And you have to study it and know how to act in such a way that you don't offend them.
God, yeah. That takes a long time.
Yeah, it takes practice.
I have only 2 children, but 2 of them are extremely different mentalities.
My daughters are like that too.
I always think now after becoming this senior, I think, oh God, how I managed with these children from childhood. I was young. I used to fight with them too. I said, no, if you don't want this milk, no, you have to drink. No matter whether you like it or not, you have to. That's how I used to do. And my son, he never used to, he says, if he doesn't like, he won't drink, he won't touch. But sober other, she used to just take it and then somehow or other gulp it and get out. But there's 2 extreme mentalities they have.
Yeah.
And now I think, oh God, this is how house will be. Now when you're telling, 5 people will have 5 different mentalities.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking, I should have just for God, whatever he wants, I should have given to him. No, you have to do this only. I used to be so strong too. Now
when they get older, then their attitude has to change. Your own
Even
attitude
today,
towards
my
them has
son
to change.
tells my grandson tells that mom never let it go. She and my daughter says, "Why did you fight with her? You should have drinking and gone. Get out from this place." That's how she used to teach him. No, that's the extreme mentalities they have.
Yeah, people are different. People are different, right? From infancy, you
So
can tell.
how under one roof, how we manage these 5 different mentalities?
Sometimes it takes prayer and intelligence to come up with ways in which keep people from fighting. And even it happens in the temples too. Sometimes the Buddhists don't get along.
Yeah.
They don't get along. Sometimes it happens in meetings. This person is saying this, and then they're very, very opinionated. There was a temple that I went to. We had a meeting. We had to go to one temple, and the meeting was there, and there were different people from different temples had come. And Anuttama Prabhu was the one that was presiding over this. And so he's talking about things that what he should do, and the people are suggesting ideas. And some of the ideas were directly opposite to some other people's ideas. And boy, they would not give up. They were sticking to their points. My point is my point is my point. I said I can already see. And the bad thing is that those two that were against each other were from the same temple also. And I said, oh boy, it's only a matter of time.
God has given this mentalities different persons. God also created us like that.
Yeah, but we also have the quality of being mild. And mild does not mean that you are like very timid. No, mild is different. Mild means you say things that needs to be said, but not in a way to offend people. You say things that need to be said, but not in a way to offend people. And it takes practice. It takes practice, really, understanding what the dynamics are or what you're dealing with. So
thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other devotee? We have I think 3 more. You can unmute yourself if you want to join in this family conversation. Or bring one of your own too. Okay. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very beautiful class. No questions. All good. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. All right. If there are no more points or questions or realizations, then thank you very much for this allowing me to do the service. And have a wonderful, wonderful Krishna conscious weekend. Vanchaka Patru Kripa Sindhya Pachitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.